Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Startup Bright. Our guest today is Marie Fryman, and she will be presenting her startup, Marpole. Marie and I met actually at one of the Startup Bright online events, and she pitched there her startup and generated some real interest in our investors. And then she decided to take advantage of this promotional package that we offer at Startup Bright and have a better exposure for her startup. Welcome, Marie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. Um, why don't you start and kind of tell us what your startup is all about?
Sure. So Marpole is a holistic health and wellness retreat brand. So we're aiming eventually to have the brand all over the world in different locations, but we're starting here in Canada, in BC specifically. And what we want to open is a location where people can come for a holistic experience. So these are motivated individuals who have their own business goals or personal, but have a lot of different projects on and they're wanting to be able to focus and get their goals set up. So what we offer is workshops in those different areas and goal setting, but also complement this with relaxation and activities. So they have an all-round experience rather than just the relaxation aspect of retreats or just goal setting or just fitness. We're packaging it all together for them.
All right, nice. So how did you come up with this idea? Was this something personal, or did you see it somewhere? How did you come up with it?
It's been a bit of a development idea since I was little, actually. So when I was younger, I actually lived in the UK. You might be able to tell from the accent. But I wanted to open a chain of international casinos and hotels. But when I moved over to Canada and saw the outdoors and that aspect more, I got very into the health and wellness piece and saw that as a growing industry as well. So the wellness industry is actually growing faster than tourism itself.
Mm.
So it seems like a very good market to get into. And it combines that with my love of the outdoors in Canada. And yeah, personally, I've always gone down the route of goal setting quite regularly. So I feel like it's combining all of that together.
I see. And do you have other people helping you realizing this idea, or for now you're one person team?
So it's a little bit of both. So I'm definitely the one driving it, but I do have help. So I'm working with a local accountant and lawyer to handle those aspects because that's not my background. And then for the retreats themselves, because we've got all these different workshops and activities, I'm bringing in professionals to do those. So for instance, at our event coming up in May, we've got a yoga instructor, we have a goal setting coach, we have a nutritionist, and then we've actually got some of the locals and Indigenous people from Shuswap Lake to give the cultural side of things.
So who is your ideal target customer? Like who would you say will benefit the most of your program and of the, going on these retreats?
So our key marketing persona is females between the age of 24 to 40. And these are very motivated individuals. They probably either started or want to start their own business. And they're the kind of people who've got loads of different projects on, are seeing their success as getting through these projects. And there's that little bit of imposter syndrome and not quite believing that you can do it. So that's what Marpole is for, to make sure you can break down the goals into manageable chunks, see that you're achieving them, and then also having that healthy balance with a healthy lifestyle as well to make sure you get there.
So basically, if I have already started as a business or have an idea for a business, but I'm not 100% sure how to go about it, or I'm into the business but don't know how to grow it or make it better, this is a program that I want to join?
Exactly. So you would be someone who saw the benefit of being able to eat healthy and balance that lifestyle and how it impacts you on a day-to-day and your ability to perform. But you're also someone who wants to be able to break things down in that exact way and meet like-minded people so that you can bounce ideas off each other and help each other go forwards.
Interesting. So how long is this program, or is it like a retreat? How do you define it?
That's a good question. So at the moment, until we secure a property, which is the reason for searching for investment, we are running individual retreats. So the one in May is just for the long weekend in Canada. And then we'll be running shorter ones throughout the rest of the year. Once we have a property, we'll be able to run them year round and people can just come as they like. We will put on specific courses. So for instance, if you wanted just that short weekend, or we could run longer ones, which are like a week or 2 weeks and focusing on specific areas.
Very interesting. Is this, but this is not going to be like an let's say incubator or anything that is in the startup community kind of known and industry standard. This is going to be program for people that can communicate to each other and bounce off ideas of each other and kind of work as a community, or
not specifically as a community. The idea is that you come to Marpole and you can meet people and leave with those friends. But the idea isn't that we're building a specific community. The retreat itself and Marpole's brand is where people would come for the weekend.
Okay.
Longer, but yeah.
Yeah. So what is your kind of go-to-market strategy? How do you plan to get in front of this target customers?
So what we're doing at the moment, we are, from a social media point of view, I'm going to go through the different channels that we're using. So from a social media point of view, we've launched on Instagram and Facebook, where we've got regular posts going and then also some ads as well. We've got our website, which all the traffic is being driven towards. And then we're also targeting smaller groups, primarily women within these like Facebook communities, and bringing them as a collective to the retreats. So getting the awareness out in those ways. We are also building an email database for targeting. So that's being built by people subscribing on our website, which is more popular than we thought it would be because not many people sign up for those things. And then also doing some data mining and getting the emails of people online as well.
So how big is this opportunity? Like if I'm an investor, and I'm going to ask this question because last night we had an online event, another online event, and one of the investors actually asked this question, how big is the opportunity? Meaning if I invest $100,000, what should I expect and in what time frame?
Okay, so we are looking at a dividends model for our investors. So after buying the property, we want to be able to get it set up and running for a year. And then after year 2 or 3, we'd be paying the dividends back to our investors.
I see. So the opportunity for investors is basically to invest with you into buying a property and then kind of run the program with you for a few years.
So that is a good question. So we have 2 approaches that we're looking at. The first is to secure a property that's fit for purpose and put those wellness aspects into it. The second option that we're looking at is actually acquiring land and building on that. So whichever way we go will probably depend on the investor or investors that we meet, because we would very much like them to be part of the advisory board as well, so that they're bringing their knowledge and their expertise in as well, and we're building it in the correct way where we can expand as quick as possible.
And are you limiting yourself to Canada, or you're open to United States as well? What is your strategy, or Is there a timeline in your development? How do you see this developing?
Yeah, so there's a couple of questions there. So the first one, no, I'm not limited to Canada. That's the first place that I'm considering, as I've just got my permanent residency, which means that I can now buy property here. But no, I'm not against the States at all. In fact, it's actually one of the places I would love. There's so many opportunities there. So that would definitely be on the cards. And just second question, development. In terms of development, I see this year as running those retreats where we're just renting the spaces out. And then next year is when I'd like to actually secure a location for it.
Yeah, I actually like your approach because you're not stuck in the idea that, oh, I need to have a property because I want it to be in a specific way in order for me to run the program and test it. You're actually kind of having your MVP already running, meaning you do this small retreats and small gatherings before you actually do the big investment, right? And you are in essence confirming that there is interest. You're figuring out your target customers and doing the MVP side of things, which is really smart. I like it. And do you have current traction, or this is going to be like the first a couple of the first few groups that you're going to have this year?
So it's both. We are seeing traction already. We're getting a lot of interest, which is great. The May event is our first one. So we'll see how that one goes. We're going to get, as you say, the market research and the feedback from that to see what works and what doesn't work, which courses they liked, which instructors they want to bring back. But yeah, the goal is to use this year primarily for that research to make sure that when we launch, we're not only doing it in the right place, but we're offering the right product for that audience as well.
Nice. And I suppose you have competition in this industry or this specific niche. Who are your biggest competitors, and how do you differentiate from them?
So that is one of the things that I wanted to make sure we got right before we went into it. So we employed a company called Black Sheep Consulting to do some market research for us. And what they found, we stuck to BC for the area. Mm-hmm. What they found was there's a lot of different retreats, health and wellness focused, but they tend to have a specific area. So for instance, you would have someone who just did goal setting. You would have people who just do the spas, or a religious retreat or a yoga retreat. Where Marpole is different is that we're combining these elements. So we're really targeting that niche of people who need to take a step back and relax, but who are a little bit fidgety when they're just sitting down and doing nothing. So they want that goal element. They want that aspect of actually moving forwards with their projects, but they need that time for self-care and actually doing some new activities as well. So that's how we would differentiate ourselves from people.
Interesting. Do you have specific amount of funds that you are looking for, and how do you plan to use the funds? How much is going to go for actual development and marketing and operations and things like that?
So we're looking for $500,000 Canadian dollars. And where it's allocated would depend on which of the two options we go for with the development. So for instance, if we were to go for purchasing an existing property and then building out the wellness side of things there, then that would be used to go towards the deposit. And then the rest of the money and the loan would be attached to my name. If we were going towards the land side of things and then building, we'd put a portion of that towards the acquisition of the land, and then some would go towards the development of the basic infrastructures. So making sure there's a well on the land, for instance, and enough facilities that we've still got that luxury element without people thinking they're just going to the woods for a weekend. In terms of marketing, and the spend there. That's actually my background. So I'm currently a director of marketing for a SaaS platform, actually. So the money that I'm making from that is going towards this branding element and the marketing. And then once we get a little bit more traction and make sure that we've got our audience correct, I'll be able to put more money behind that one too.
Nice. And do you have projections for, let's say, next 18 months to 3 years of this?
So the accountant that we're working with did create some projections, but they're kind of based on guesswork. So we've used the prices, etc., that other retreats nearby have got, but because we don't know the location or the size of the bedrooms, it's a little bit of estimation. But we need to try and put them together. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's why they're called projections, right? Because they're based on assumptions.
Yeah.
And again, going back to your MVP, it's going to help you actually, now you're renting locations, right? It's going to give you a very good idea about your profit margins and things like that.
Exactly. So when we're looking at this, I'm keeping a track of all the spends, obviously. But a lot of the costs for renting places, as you'll know, is the sunk cost of actual renting it. So hiring out the event space, paying for the on-site staff, etc. All of that money I see as being a sunk cost. Whereas when we have our own property or land, we'll be able to put that into the development side of things.
Yeah, when you rent versus buying, there's a lot of things that can when you're renting are taken care of, like insurance and covering liabilities and replacing bulbs and all that stuff is taken care of for you. So it's kind of interesting to see if you really need to buy a property. And again, doing what you're doing right now, the core is actually offering these programs, these services to your targeted customers. You can get better at that before making bigger decisions and buying land or building something.
Yes.
So looking, in the future, do you have an exit strategy, or this is something that you want to continue working on and in?
So at the moment, it's something I'd like to continue working on because I see it as expanding into those different locations and then making the Marpole brand internationally known. That would be the dream, so that we're known as the place to go for this goal setting and relaxation aspect, and the place to go if you want to start a new business but you're not quite sure what to do. So at the moment, the strategy is to just expand and get more and more locations. But yeah, we'll see where it goes.
All right, sounds good. I'm happy that you decided to do this interview, and we can present you to our internal private network of investors. And I always ask people that I interview, do you have like a funny or embarrassing story to tell related to your startup and the work that you're doing now?
I guess the name came from a pretty funny place. I was driving around with my friend Adam, who actually helps with some of the work on Marpole. And this was way back in the early idea stages, but he was telling me that I needed to get more details down before I started going to investors. And at the time, I didn't even have a name for it. So he was coming up with all these negatives about why it wouldn't work. And we were driving along and I said, Adam, come up with something. Let's decide a name right now. And we happened to be driving through a place called Marpole. And he looked out the window and he was like, oh, Marpole Retreats. And then we said it a few times over in our head and it kind of just stuck. So that's where the name came from.
Yeah, it's easy to remember and kind of easy to pronounce. Rolls with the tongue. It's very, very nice name.
Yeah, we figured it would do well for expansion as well. So let's say we don't just want to do retreats later down the line. If we go into like Marpole Travel or Marpole Homes or anything like this, then it's that umbrella brand that would be good.
Right, right. And I'm looking at your pitch deck, and there is like this nice picture on the first page. Is
Yes.
that a real place, or this is more of a designer kind of thing?
It's a designer. So I'm very much a probably from the goal setting side. You have your vision and that you can see it and you work towards it. So that's what that was designed for. I've actually got the painting on my wall just there of the same thing.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much for being part of Startup Bright and for your interview. I hope that we will be able to help you and everything is going to go well with your endeavor. And I hope to talk to you again in 6 months, maybe a year, so we can check and see how you've developed.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you very much for doing this with me.
Thank you, Marie.